Welcome back to Checkmate with Blake. Today I'm going to show you all an opening that I believe is the very best chess opening for white for people who like to play attacking chess games. So if you're someone who enjoys a dynamic game, I think this is the opening for you. Additionally, this opening is also very solid. I'm talking about the Scotch Gambit. The Scotch Gambit is not some dubious opening that, if black knows how to play, will crush you. This is a opening that even if black plays perfectly, you will still maintain an advantage or at the very least an equal game. Of course, though, as this is a gambit, we have many traps I'm going to show you, and I can almost guarantee that the majority of you have not seen all of these lines that I'm about to cover. Of course, I do show some main lines in here just so you're aware, so that you're prepared. Since it's an opening video, I want you to be prepared. But as always, I do my homework, I do my research on these videos, and I come up with very specific lines. I come up with brilliant traps. I come up with things that aren't typically main theory. So I'll give you guys the main theory. I'll give you everything you need to know, but I will throw in some kind of twists, my recommendations, and I do my research into this as always. So if you guys do find this pretty helpful, if you enjoy the video, hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow a lot. It really does. And as always, this video actually comes from some subscriber requests, people wanting to see the Scotch or the Scotch Gambit specifically. So if you want to see a specific opening, leave that comment below. We'll go ahead and get right into this video. So what is the Scotch Gambit? It starts after the move e4, e5, knight f3, and after knight c6, we do play the Scotch, which is this move d4. And the reason we're playing d4, if you're a beginner and you want to understand why we're even playing the Scotch to begin with, well, you're forcing black to make a decision right now on move 2. Or sorry, move 3. Of course, we're attacking their pawn, so they have to make a decision. We are forcing them to make a decision, which is kind of, along the themes of attacking chess. You're kind of forcing some of these decisions. Because if they make the wrong decision, you'll win very easily. But of course, we're going to cover the lines where they do take this pawn. E takes d4 is main line. It's pretty much, if you're a beginner and you're wondering why they take this. This is the best move by far, so it's pretty much what you expect, and it's one of the simplest move to understand if you're playing from black's perspective here. As I flip the board, taking just kind of removes some of these threats, threats of pushing, things like that. So anyways, the Scotch Gambit, now that we flip back to the white side, is this move bishop c4. We do not capture the pawn. Now, again, if you're a beginner, I'll kind of go back a little. The typical Scotch is we take here. And then I'm not covering all these lines because there are so many main lines you can play. You can play here. There's a ton of options. These are two of the most typical main moves. But my point being is we're not covering this because the Scotch is a whole opening video itself. Instead, we are going to cover the Scotch Gambit, which is actually what I recommend. Like I said, if you're an attacking chess player, this is the opening I recommend. It's very aggressive. We're completely ignoring this. Even though we've just lost a pawn, we're not even worried about it. We're not taking back. Now, I'm going to cover a few lines for you guys. I'm going to cover this bishop move coming here. I'm going to cover the bishop coming here, which is typically the main line. And I'll cover maybe this bishop check, and also the knight coming out here, which are all of the lines you have to know. You're going to be very prepared, but as you all will shortly see, we have a ton of nice traps that we're going to set for them. So the first thing we're going to start out with is this move. Actually, we'll go ahead and cover the main line. We'll cover this move bishop c5, and I have a line that I don't know if many of you have even seen before. Of course, if you're an advanced player, I won't put it past you. You probably have seen this move, but it's just this move, knight g5. Knight g5, it looks like we're going for some kind of fried liver attack. At first, this may look to you, if you're like an intermediate player, this may look like, we're moving a piece twice in the opening, which is generally not a good idea. And you may think, well, this is just silly. I mean, we're attacking this pawn, but like it's not a big deal. They have multiple ways to defend it. But ask yourself, do they really have a lot of ways to defend it? Because obviously, if they move the queen, if you're a beginner, moving the queen does not help, obviously, because we can still take this. Because if they take back, obviously, we win material. But if you're an intermediate player, you may say, well, maybe we could just bring the knight out. And that is the top engine move, so we will cover that. Notice, though, unlike at certain positions in other openings, like the Italian, for example, they don't have this move d5 because we actually can just capture, and so that we maintain the threat of attacking this pawn. So instead, they have to play this move knight h6. But here's where I'm going to go through and just show some of these amazing lines. So if you pause and find the move, but obviously the top two moves kind of give it away, we actually, either way doesn't matter, we're actually going to sacrifice these pieces here. Because after they take back, actually it says it's a brilliant move, which is interesting. It's a brilliant move on the first line. But we sacrifice the pieces because after they take, we take back. After king takes, we move the queen all the way out to queen h5. It's a check, and actually notice a double attack here. So I do want to point something out. They have to go here or here, basically. Those are their two options, of course. I guess g8 is also an option. But I want to point out, if they were, for example, to go here, we do capture with a check. If they go, let's see, let's say if they go, if they go here, for example, we do always have checks too, like Queen D5, forcing them here again, where we will take again with a check. So if we just pause this video, of course, this is a very favorable position. It says it's 0.4, but I think if you're playing this, you're going to find a lot of success, considering black can't castle. They have to move again, for example, and you're welcome to just go ahead and castle yourself, and you have a great position. I actually would play this any day of the week. So that's how I recommend Bishop C5. If we just go back a little bit here, I mean, the question you should ask yourself is, what else can they play? What else can black play other than this knight coming out? So the answer is that's it. And not, of course, look at the engine. That is the only move they could play, which is why this move knight G5 is just so amazing. Of course, if they play any other move, you do have this attack, so they have to respond to it. Knight G5, I think, is crushing, and you may have seen this line before, but it's definitely my recommendation if they do play the most common move, which is Bishop C5. If they play this move Bishop E7, I actually recommend playing this move C3 here. C3 gambits another pawn. So if they were to take this pawn, go ahead and pause the video. There's another move here I want you to find. As always, as I said, this opening has a million traps I wanted to show you all. So pause the video. But if they take this pawn, you actually play this move Queen D5, threatening a checkmate in one. Now, it says it's an inaccuracy, but I actually disagree. I think, because I looked at some of these lines, I don't disagree that it's an inaccuracy, but I disagree that maybe this is not the move you should play. I think this is the move you should play. So we're threatening a checkmate. Notice their very top move is actually to bring this knight out here, knight h6, and you actually go ahead and take this knight, because notice if they take back, they get checkmated. So instead, black's best move is simply to castle. And so this is really why I recommend, playing or showing this line, for example, because you're winning a piece already. Of course, there is a serious threat here, but it's really not all that concerning. You can sacrifice your piece here if you'd like to, and after the king takes, another brilliant move, actually. That's interesting. So we have another brilliant move in every line, it looks like. But after the king takes here, for example, you can actually go ahead and capture back, and you're perfectly fine. Black can't castle, or black's castled, but their king is not very safe. You're ready to castle, and you have amazing development here. So that's how I recommend if they do play this move, Bishop E7, which is also a very forcing line. The last line I want to briefly cover, and then we're going to get into the Knight F6 lines, which are a little more interesting, and I want to give you some of my perspectives on them, is this move where after you play the bishop out, they give this check. This is a little more boring, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time covering this. And I could almost make a whole video on this line as well. So my recommendation is still to play c3, and after they take back is to castle. And I say this because we're focusing on development, and a lot of players here, if you're playing black, let me flip the board. If you're playing black here, consider what moves you might play. A lot of players would consider taking here. It is probably one of the most popular moves, if I had to guess. But if you take here, it's actually a big mistake, and white is winning already, because now look at all these pieces eyeing down the board. And if you're playing black, you might see, okay, well, this pawn is hanging. I'm going to go and flip the board again. The pawn is hanging, so maybe we'll just bring out this knight here to protect it. But I recommend e5 as the next move. And let's just say they go knight g4, which is a pretty popular idea. We're actually going to play this move h3, and they need to play this move knight h6. Of course, if they capture here, notice we have too many attackers, so it's not a good idea, so they have to play knight h6, and this is kind of the position you'll end up in. Maybe you'll end up playing knight c3. Most likely they will trade here, and this is kind of the position you'll get, which I think is very favorable for white. Of course, black does have two pawns, but you have two very strong bishops. You have a very active position, and their knights are kind of... This knight's very poorly placed, and they don't really have much to show for their position. Meanwhile, you have a whole game ready to play, an attacking chess game. So... we'll go back a little bit just to briefly show. They may not capture here. They may actually play this move knight f6, which is the best move. Here I do recommend e5. After they go here, such as knight g4, notice we can take here, bishop takes. We can actually do a nice sacrifice as well, which with bishop takes f7. And after they take back, after the king takes back, you do have this check, and notice you do have a discovery on this knight. So you will win this knight back. Let's just say the king goes here. You'll win the knight, and you have a very good attacking game as well. So I just wanted to briefly show some of those lines. I'm going to go back because I want to show you. I'll spend a little more time, since I don't want to make this video too long. I want to spend more time on this move knight f6. Now, here's the point in the video where I'm going to give you all the two options. I want to give you the main line just so that you're aware of it, and you can make these decisions. Do you want to play the main line? Do you want to play the line I want to show you? Um, Main line is to push the pawn. Now, the line that I'm familiar with when I'm playing black here is actually to put this knight, or sorry, not move the knight, is to play this move d5. That's what I found. But they also have a move like this. So the reason I don't recommend necessarily the main line is I think everyone, or a lot of players know it, especially if you're intermediate or above, a lot of players are familiar with these lines. Now, if you're a beginner, the other argument says maybe you could play this main line because if you're playing black here, what do you play if you're a beginner? Well, if you're a beginner, you might think of lines like here. You might think, okay, I'm going to put the knight here, so we're double attacking. This is, if you're a beginner, this is the move. These are the moves that maybe would justify playing it for white. So I'll flip the board again. The reason I say that, okay, because now if you're playing white, if they play this move, which is the wrong move, it says it's a book move, but this is not what I recommend, is that you would castle. And black might think, okay, well, I can take this pawn now because if they take back, we win the pawn. But of course, you play rook e1, and actually you're gonna no matter how they defend it, like if they go here, of course, you're gonna play this move f4, and you're just gonna win the knight. So this is why if you're a beginner, maybe you would go down the main line because you might win the center, you might win a central piece here if they play it incorrectly. But as I'll briefly show, most players are familiar, and they'll actually play this move in this position, d5. And notice there, it's a counterattack. Like if you take their piece, they take yours. And black's actually winning in this position. So instead, main line, just so that you all are aware of it, and if you decide to play it, is actually to put this bishop here, bishop b5, and because this knight is under attack, to move the knight to the center of the board. This is just very complicated, which is why I don't recommend this. And then here you'd capture, double attacking. They go here, and typically you go ahead and exchange this piece down, and you castle. In this position, usually the move is bishop e7, f3, bishop goes, or sorry, the knight goes here, and then you play f4. This solidifies the position. So I'll just stop here. I didn't spend a lot of time going through those moves on purpose because, as you can tell, they're kind of just memorized moves. You just kind of have to memorize the lines. And I feel like a lot of people already do know these moves, which is why I don't recommend it, because you're just going to get that position. Unless you really like this position here, because this might be a position you like where, of course, black's kind of crammed. You do have space, and you have space on the king side. So I wanted to give you guys that option. And, of course, as I'll go back a little, as I said, they actually can also play this move here, which is kind of tricky. Typically, how you'll go in this position is maybe a castles, and then let's just say the bishop comes out, rook comes out, they go d5, and en passant, and then the knight jumps back. So these are the two ways that this main line can play out. And I'll just let you guys decide if you like this. If you do, go ahead and play it. But now I'm going to give you all my recommendation for how I would recommend if after playing knight f6. And I recommend castling, gambiting the pawn. They will take this pawn, this free pawn here. You then bring the rook out, and many of you probably have seen this line. This is not some line that I just kind of came up with myself. It's not as popular, but a lot of people do play this way. After you're attacking the knight, the most logical move for black is to play this move d5 because they're actually defending this knight and attacking your pawn. Here you will sacrifice the bishop here. You'll take the free pawn. After they take back with the queen, you will go ahead and play this move, knight c3. Notice they cannot capture the pawn. They can't capture the knight because the queen would hang. They cannot capture this way because it's pinned to the king. And so you're double attacking the pieces. And this is why I recommend playing this line. Because now black has to be very, very careful. Because where do they move this queen? There's really not an obvious space. For example, if they were to move the queen here to protect the knight, well, of course, you're going to take, and you're actually going to win the queen here. So they can't bring it anywhere on this file. Obviously can't go here because of that. And there's not many squares, right? Like this is covered by the knight. Let's see, this is covered, and it's actually very tricky. Even the very top move, which is queen h5, is actually tricky in itself too, because look, so you go here, obviously you take the knight, and you're threatening a discovery on the king. So most likely they'll play this move bishop e7, and here's one of the lines I recommend. You throw in this in-between move, bishop g5. Of course, if they capture here, you have a discovery with this knight f6, where you're actually going to win the queen here. Actually, and if they play it wrong, they actually get checkmated here. So they can't even take this bishop. So instead, a lot of players, and obviously if they take here, you'll take with the knight. So a lot of players here will play this move, f6. Well, if you want to pause it, we have another tricky line here. We can actually go ahead and take this, and after they take back, so again, another brilliant move. So there we go. We've had a brilliant move on every single line. So that's something kind of cool about this video that makes it kind of unique. Obviously, if they capture here, as I said, you have a discovery where you will actually win the queen. Likewise, though, if they capture this way, notice we actually have a nice fork here as well. Because the bishop's pinned, it cannot capture the knight, and you'll still win the queen. So even the point being is I recommend this line because they have to be very, very careful how they play it, and more importantly, they have to be very careful on where they put this queen. Of course, the reason we're behind playing bishop g5 is we're actually threatening to take this, right? So, I mean, they cannot castle or just play some simple move, right? If they castle here, we can just look at some of the top moves. But actually, interestingly enough, knight g3 makes a lot of sense too, because now let's look, where does the queen go? The queen is actually going to be probably trapped here if I had to guess, but most likely we will win the extra piece. So the point being is they either have to give up the queen or they have to give up the piece here. So maybe not trap, but we'll win a piece as well. So they have to kind of respond to this threat, and it's just not easy to respond to it. So if we look at some of the top moves, I mean, of course, there are ways that they can cover, for example, like a move like this. But I recommend this line because, of course, you're still threatening this pawn in the center. You have a very good attacking game. And as I showed, there's so many ways that can go wrong. And I just want to point out, as I said, I showed the very best move, which is queen h5. I mean, any other move they play can get into a lot of trouble very quickly. Like if they play queen d6, which looks like a logical move, you will take here. And again, you're now threatening a discovery. So no matter where they go, you're threatening a discovery of some sort because the rook will look at the king. So I tried to keep this video not too long, of course, because there's so many lines to show, and I tried to give you all some of the main lines, but if something wasn't clear, leave it in the comments below. I'll make an extra video on it, or if you want me to make an additional Scotch video, if you want to see maybe the initial Scotch, not the Scotch Gambit, or if just one of these lines you want a little more coverage on, like maybe this line specifically, you want more coverage, leave a comment below. I'll make another video for you guys because it's my job to make content that you all like to see. That's kind of my purpose, is to you know, kind of bring some educational content to you guys that you do like and kind of personalize. Since, of course, I'm a small channel, I can do that. Thank you all for your support as always. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. You know, leave a like if you would. Again, I do really appreciate it. And let me know what you guys want to see next. Thank you guys so much for watching.